and norms. But nothing was changed outside of this room. The manuscripts are still there. The Meddu Neter, or the holy writings, or the hieroglyphics on the walls, still there. The texts from the ancient writings are still available, but they were not made available to the slave inside of America. If the slave were caught even reading, the slave was beaten severely or killed, or his tongue was cut out. Anything that showed the slave beginning to reach out, as Dr. Haley pointed out in his great work Roots, which was just a mild version, any sign of trying to learn and to hook back up with our ancient past was destroyed inside of America. But now we have black people that travel all over the world, scholars and scientists who are digging at the manuscripts and in and out of the great temples of higher learning and enlightenment of the world and reading the hieroglyphics, and this wisdom has come to us, and also God has raised a man in our midst, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and now the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Let me ask you a question. Can white people get to heaven? Do you look at that as a possibility?
I don't know, sir.
I'm asking, does your religion teach that in any way, shape, or form?
What do you mean, sir?
Can only black people make it to heaven is what I'm asking?
We believe that any person that performs a righteous deed, that God does not ignore the righteous deed of any doer, no matter what their color is. We believe that God is more interested in the righteousness of the person than in the color of the person. It just so happens, sir, that white people have been the #1 perpetrators of all of these things that we have mentioned on this program.
Have you met many
throughout the earth?
Have you met many righteous white people in your life?
I haven't met one, sir.
You haven't met one?
Not
in your entire life?
Would you like to introduce me to one? I would be happy to meet one.
I think you're looking at one, but you think I'm a devil, so that's okay.
If you can find one anywhere, I'd be happy to meet you.
You've never met, and most black people, are they righteous in your view? Most of the ones you've met?
All black people are righteous by nature.
Oh, okay.
So this is learned behavior. These are the circumstances of 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death. These are 400 years of being manipulated and destroyed as a people. This is not the true nature of black people.
So the black people are righteous and the white people are devils?
Well, everything that is in the hands of black people to do evil with, white people put it in their hands. The guns you make, the drugs come in on trucks and trains and boats and planes. We don't even have a canoe. We're failing chemistry, most of us, because you didn't let us read for a long time, so we're not the ones making up all of these drugs.
Well, the one thing that we're not doing is we're not lighting the pipes and we're not injecting it into people's veins. There's a personal choice that you totally negate.
No, sir, there's no personal choice when you robbed me completely of a knowledge of myself and made me deaf, dumb, and blind.
Take away all responsibility for your own life.
Took it all away because for 400 years on the plantation, the slave had no responsibility.
We're going to live in the past
slave
forever.
Was conditioned, well, that is according to the leading psychiatrists and psychologists, there's a carryover today in that psyche and that thinking. The problem is not with the crack, Mr. Hannity. The problem is with the cracker.
And what about the person that takes the match and lights the crack, be he black or white? He doesn't have any choice?
He's a deaf, dumb, and blind person who has been robbed of a knowledge of self.
So a righteous, deaf, dumb, and blind black person that does that is a fool.
As the pastor said earlier, in a convoluted sort of way, this is a form of illegitimacy. This is a people who have been strayed from the way of God and who have been robbed of a knowledge of self. So they have to be made whole again because this society has corrupted them.
What a great thing. Take away all responsibility for your life. If you're lighting a crack pile, blame the slavery argument from 400 years ago.
The problem is with the cracker.
I think the problem is the lack of taking responsibility for one's life. If you light that crack vial, that's your problem, and you can blame white people all you want for that, sir. Nor would I, sir, and I would encourage everyone not to. Chuck will give you a final thought here. We're going to move on. Any other thoughts today?
Yes, I understand Mr. Muhammad's viewpoint on being robbed, so to speak, of culture by certain European powers. But I think that he should also maybe consider the fact that during that time of, if you would, European exploitation
still exists,
of the world, that certain countries who were in the business of exploited not only blacks but other whites and Asians, and that was just a period of exploitation. And
by white people, is that correct?
I beg your pardon, sir?
Was it by European white people?
There was, in the, quote, age of discovery, Certainly there was, between Spain and Portugal and
black
the
slave
Netherlands
traders
and
as well.
Belgium and England.
No black slave traders. No arrogant white man was going to buy slaves from another slave. He would take that slave who was trying to sell the slaves and all the rest of the slaves.
But what I'm trying to say, sir, is that over in, let's say, in Eastern Europe, let's say in Poland, okay, there was a movement of the Germans, the Austrians, and the Russians.
Yes,
and they moved into Poland and they dismantled the country. And they robbed that people of their culture.
White people robbing white people.
Certainly.
Yes, sir.
Certainly. And there were wars in Africa where black people would exploit other black people.
Well, a war is different from slavery, colonialism, and exploitation and misuse and abuse.
Well, if it's a quote unjust war, if it's a war of exploitation, then it's exploitation.
Exploitation in any color is no good at all, sir.
Right. Okay. As long as we're clear on that it's not.
We're just talking about the number one robber, the number one raper and lyncher and liar and exploiter.
And that is the white person.
Yes, sir.
Continues to this day. We're going to move on. Chuck, thanks for your call this afternoon. We appreciate it. Jolie from Hartselle, first-time caller. You're live on WVNN and the Sean Hannity program. Good morning.
I only have really one thing to say.
Yes?
I think that both of you need to calm down and talk like civilized people.
I'm civilized. I'm not calling another person a devil and evil and a lightweight.
I
Yes?
understand that, but listen, the only way anyone can get along with someone else is to let them say their piece. Everyone has their own opinion on everything. Okay? I think another thing that I noticed is both of you keep on saying you people for all the whites and you people for all the blacks.
Blessed are the peacemakers, Jolie, huh?
No, listen. It doesn't matter. Everyone is a human being. Everyone is equal in my
Great.
belief.
Let me tell you my vision for America, and I'd love to hear Mr. Muhammad hear this. I would like to see in our society African Americans, white Americans, Irish Americans, Italian Americans, those Americans, the National Association for the Advancement of Good and Decent People that want to see this country move forward and live together and work together and start businesses together. Make America what it could be, a city on a hill, a beacon of light shining across the world. Those people that fight for the good values that families can get along and races can get along, that we can be successful, that we can end the drug problem. I would love to see these things happen, and I don't think we're ever going to get that way if we're blaming other people for definitely injustices of the past, which I agree with Mr. Muhammad about. I'd love to see the progress go forward. I'd like to see all racism end. I'd like to see people's hearts changed. And I'd also like to see this country work together in an inclusive manner, but this type of anti-white rhetoric, this calling white people devils.
I just called you a devil this morning.
Well, you just said to this audience that only black people were righteous and that white people historically were evil.
I called you a devil because of the way you act.
Okay, I understand that. So I'm just saying I share a different vision. I think we should, as Martin Luther King said, judge people by the content of their character, because there are decent members of all races, in spite of him rolling his eyes and throwing his hands up in the air here. But that's my vision, which is certainly different than his.
May I express my vision?
Yes, sir.
I, too, sir, would like to see all of those things.